Hello, internet friends. My name is Bay, and this is technically not a beta video, but I mean, hey, we did the live reaction sort of cinematic film nerd analysis to the Jaina video last week, and there was some good feedback on that, and a lot of discussion, and a lot of things I've absorbed from that, and I'm going to change for this one. I will preface this by saying I've already watched the cinematic. The 2.5D Warbringers Sylvanas cinematic. So I have, going into this, already a little different opinion, obviously, than the Jaina one. And I wanted to record this one offline, sort of like I did with my beta videos, just so I could sit here and talk and sort of ramble without having to go back and forth and like wait to read chat. That was one of the comments I picked up on. Having the live reaction is interesting. But I mean, I don't really react to stuff. Like, I think what people are really looking forward to, like, oh, Bay reacts. But I mostly get into like talking about the architecture and the structure and the building blocks and the cinematic style because of my background, working for 4+ years in the industry after graduating college and having a film degree and been on many sets in my time. So cinematic grammar and how this all stuff works out. There are some interesting hooks in this one. And then, of course, I will sort of tail end the video with my thoughts, I guess, because honestly, I'm... So, if you don't want to watch this yourself, please feel free to do so at your leisure and then come back to the video, because I'm going to play it right now, but I'm not really going to talk anything or talk over it or anything like that. I'm just going to play it. I'm going to sit here and look stoic. So, let's kill the background music and get right to this, and then we'll get to talking about the Warbringers Sylvanas.
Secure the beach. Prepare to invade the tree.
Why? Why? You've already won. Only innocents remain in the tree.
This is war.
No. This is hatred. Rage. Windrunner. You were defender of your people. Do you not remember?
I remember. A fool. Take her! Run! You understand. Ah, don't grieve. You'll soon join your loved ones.
I grieve for you. You've made life your enemy. And that is a war you'll never win. You can kill us, but you cannot kill hope.
Can't I? Burn it. Burn it!
First off, as you can tell by my not reacting reactions, there are some incredible images here. And as it's a 2.5D, right? So it's all flat, except for like where the drawing gives you in scope. But it's 2.5D because obviously the scenes move, right? The different scenes animate and move and this kind of stuff. It goes between the little animations, the moving pictures within the picture. I love that stuff, right? But they're... Man, this, I don't know what part to start about. Like the film nerd analysis to this right off the bat is that there is some incredible scene colorations that really, really, like when I first watched this, spoke to me. The first one, of course, coming into play is this one right here. I'll make sure the volume is just barely able in the background here. Is this transition is really, really good. And they don't really animate a lot of the mouth talking animations very often. But this, I remember a fool. They really wanted to drive in that she thinks in her character arc, Sylvanas, thinks that where she came from obviously doesn't matter anymore. They want to wipe away any of that, at least to a fault, to try to make it so that she is some morally, tragically twisted internally. Like all three of these women that we're about to see, right? We saw Jaina's story. We're going to see Ajara's story, I would assume, next week. And I get that. But Sylvanas, no offense, any like Sylvanas lovers or, you know, horde enthusiasts or whatnot, Sylvanas' story doesn't have anything to do with the Alliance. So why is she burning down the world tree to quote unquote kill hope? Like there's no connection. Arthas and the Lich King, the Helm of Domination, and everything that Arthas did, which first off, this entire sequence right here where the reveal of Arthas is so incredible. Like the still hand, just like the dropping to your side, like the what do I even do right now? And watch how the tonal shift from the very Sunwell flower, this very sun, yellow, bright, vibrant, living elven, is contrasted as the scene shifts and as it gets darker as it goes forward here, as more and more of the battle ensues. Like, this is all just slow build-up to what's going to happen. And this is more like a recollection, because this didn't really happen, of course, in Warcraft 3. Like, why would Sylvanas, like, run at Arthas and then, like, slash at some Scourge and then be right in front of him like this, other than to have this reveal? And this is probably the best part of the entire Warbringers short. Everything in this micro section of her recalling her becoming a Banshee and dying to Arthas is the best part of this entire thing. The beginning and outro, the bookends of the burning of Teldrassil, are just asinine to me, because there's the motivation behind it is just so like, my past is tragic and everything was taken away from me, so I'm going to become an obvious villain who's not morally gray and take things away from someone else. Meh. That's all I get from this. It's like this angry little child that their ice cream fell off and their siblings still had ice cream or something. Like, they're just like, I'm going to destroy everyone else's ice cream. Yeah. I don't get it, right? Because Arthas is a morally gray character. Illidan, this is the novel, right? The Illidan novel. Illidan is a morally gray character. I would say Illidan is more of like a chaotic good, right? And obviously, so in Arthas's way, he starts out sort of morally gray and chaotically good. Obviously, as the helm takes over and more and more and more, then he becomes definitely a bad guy. But Sylvanas is... I was just hoping for something more than this. And this entire middle part here, and the reveal that shows this is how she got her tears art, like her on the new model anyway. They didn't really have this point in older Sylvanas models, whatever like that. I thought it was just like her mascara was running, or just like, you know, the Banshee corruption in her face made her eyes, and the whole Forsaken undeath thing, whatever. But the fact that it was the tears that she cried as she was killed, and that became stained on her being, that is heavy. Like, that is really good. That is some excellent cinematic storytelling. It sets up a character's physical appearance from the actions in their past and moves it forward, right? It's like Cable having the scar over his eye, and that kind of stuff. Like, I just thought of eyes because I'm looking at it right here, you know? There's just those moments that connect the past to what is going to happen is really important. I'll put some, let me put some background music on just so I'm not talking over nothing here. Is that there's just this really awkward forced narrative happening here. And again, like this whole reveal, this scene makes me incredibly happy. Just like as a film nerd, this is really good. Just the wiping out of the light of the Sunwell, that imagery is actually amazing. And then again, as I told you, this whole scene gets darker and darker and darker as it goes through shot by shot by shot. This one, of course, the last bit of light is being sucked out of and pulled from Sylvanas, the light from Frostmourne is sucking up her soul. Sorry about that noise. And there's the Banshee version of her. And then again, even in the Banshee incorporeal version of her, she has the tears, right? The runny mascara look. It's so good, and it's on her physical body there. So when, of course, she gets her body back in Warcraft 3, that's why it's still there, right? I get that. And then again, look at how the light in this shot has obviously faded, and the people that she tried to save, the mother and her child, obviously didn't make it. And then, of course, there's the Sunwell right down along the way. So I wonder how factually accurate that landscape is compared to if you actually look at the city in game. Probably, it's just artist rendition. But all of this stuff and the scar slowly forming, look on the right and left sides of the screen, you can sort of see where the scar would form with the risen elements and all like the I guess the flags and the dirt raising up, stuff like that. This obviously will become the scar leading all the way up to the city, to Quel'Tha Lost. But this has some really awesome moments. The reason why this scene happens here, like the Banshee engulfing, that's excellent. But this, not only that, there's like a tiger or a lion roar behind the scene, basically. That's just sound design, which is awesome. But this sequence, also, talk about how, you know, Banshee Sylvanas has really good teeth. But this... They connected this dot, I feel, forcefully to connect it to the actual intro cinematic with her going full-on Banshee mode and doing the red eye crazy stuff where she actually goes incorporeal and, you know, mess up the whole tower and kills a whole bunch of Alliance. That's fine.
Life is pain.
Life is pain. And then again, it goes back to the whole, that middle section is the best part. Hope fails. Now you understand. Now, granted, it shows how, and I talk about this on stream, I have not done the actual quests in game yet, but like this shot that just stays on the ranger's eye this whole time to show her crying in response to Sylvanas, this is really good. I don't, this is like probably one of the other really great scenes in this bookended part, even though it's around the whole burning stuff that I just think is really weak. The fact that she cries for her, not for what she's about to do or for her people or anything like that, is very revealing of the state that we as other players can see what Sylvanas is in, and I get that. And I think the narrative setup here, as I'm just sort of rambling through this again, that's why it's sort of like still a live reaction, because it's all just off the cuff here, is there's a weakening point that I just don't think it makes me like sad as an Alliance player thinking about the Horde, because whereas you can sort of understand her storyline here, the fundamental aspect that this doesn't feel like it matters. Even to keep on the whole cinematic toss here, this scene is really interesting. This point where she actually moves her head. Obviously, she's a wounded night elf dying. She probably can't move anything, so she like positions her body and makes her watch. That's obviously a very villain-oriented thing to do, right? Like so many movies you see right now, it's always like to torture or to I guess get your rocks off as the villain. Besides monologuing, which that little remembrance part in the middle there, where she's sort of like telling that story or somehow relaying it to her. I can't think of this ranger's name all of a sudden. She's a brand new character that was created and voiced in the new pre-launch event only just to die in it, which is also fine. That's a narrative hook because you get a new character like, oh, who's this fully voiced character? Cool armor. She fights alongside you, right? So you're meeting other people that are fighting in this war. It opens up your realm of understanding for the players that are also in the NPC players that are also on the board with you. And then, of course, she dies in this whole sequence. But this burn it statement here, you watch how she has to command, almost like Nathanos and Saurfang are like, what? Which, of course, comes into play later on down the road in the actual campaign, at least for Saurfang, but that'll come out in the game later on, is... See? Like, they don't listen to her the first time. Like, they need, like, the conviction from her, apparently, to make sure they burn it. I just think it's narratively weak. It's just narratively weak to me because Arthas had this huge arc to... That's actually a really good frame to land on. Arthas had this huge purpose. By the time he's doing this with Quel'Thalas, that's more than he's actually Quel'Thalas. More of a actual villain at this point. Like the burning and the culling of Strathome, that was definitely a chaotic good thing to do, right? He doesn't want the plague grain to spread, so he has to kill all of his people because he wanted to spread more to say, you know, the lives of some are better than the lives of the many. Like he was a tormented king at that point. That makes sense. So he had this huge long journey, these arcs that changed his character, that slowly degraded over time. And Sylvanas has been so selfish because her story in Legion was that, cool, she's war chief, she's working with Varian, they're gonna stop the Legion, solid. Right? The opening, the Legion cinematic is like the nod between the two of them. They're like, okay, we're obviously rivals and we're enemies in this point, but this is obviously something that's more important. And when the whole, like, they retreat and Vol'jin gets stabbed and Varian dies, spoiler alert, that's like all she's been through. She loses her home, I get it, but she's supposed to be mad at the Legion. This is the Legion's thing. The Helm, the Arthas storyline, it's all because of the Legion. So we together defeat it, and while we're fighting the Legion, her other story arc is just that she's scared that the Forsaken will die off, which connects her to the past continuously, instead of trying to find some redemption story arc, which may or may not have sat well either, but it's also making her just a flat-out maniacal villain that even her own subordinates don't know what to do. Like if you're a druid of the Horde right now, what are your thoughts? Do you support your war chief? You have no control over where the story is going for your character. There's no like BioWare choice engine here. You just accept that your war chief has actually jumped the shark, and you have to let her burn down one of the world trees, one of the homes of druidic power. Regardless of being like a Tauren or not, there are still connections there. There obviously still has to be a point of, I don't know if this is a good idea. World trees are really important, and there's like other druids there, and I don't really think this is a good idea, Sylvanas. It's not Moonglade, but I just don't think her story lends itself to be this like as powerfully tragic as just her. Again, the whole ice cream thing earlier. I think she's just mad. And that's even what was talked about in this sequence. And then again, my other thought, I went over Illidan being morally gray, and Illidan's arc in Legion may or may not have some people really enjoying it. The whole, I am my scars, and like rejecting the light, right? That's good or bad, depending on how you want to look at it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was actually bold, because the whole Child of Light prophecy garbage for Illidan that was building up over the course of like the Illidan campaign side story bit was that he was going to become some, like, if you've ever played the epilogue to StarCraft 2, where Kerrigan, it's been years now. If you don't know the story yet, then I'm going to spoil it for you. Kerrigan basically goes from obviously a good soldier to Queen of Blades to rescued to, you know, back to being mostly human, but then realizes that she's still a Zerg. She goes back to being a Zerg again, but then she like fights kind of her good war and then goes back to being Zerg and then leaves. But then she comes back at the very end to be like this incredible Xel'Naga construct and basically becomes like this Mary Sue MacGuffin character that becomes like a god and helps everyone save the universe, blah, 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 because of a bigger evil, demons, basically space demons. And that's fine, I guess. But the opposite is happening with Sylvanas. She has like this one big traumatic bit. And compared to Illidan, who literally did sacrifice 10,000 or more years of his existence to his choices, to his morally gray, or in this case, chaotic good reasoning, that makes his arc in Legion actually a lot more impactful, because we save him, he realizes the real enemy is still his main focus, he gives up his relationship with his brother, basically, even though he kind of apologizes. He finally gets rid of, like, he unblue balls himself with Tyrande, all this stuff, right? And then he basically becomes, like, our savior in, like, a Vegeta sort of, you know, anti-hero kind of way as the jailer of Kil'jaeden. And, well, not Sargeras, rather, Sargeras. We kill Kil'jaeden. Falls to the planet. So, becomes the jailer of Sargeras, right? His enemy of all this time, he arcs around. Which is why I think, narratively, this whole sequence with Sylvanas, I honestly think they're trying to make, I mean, this is an amazing image, right? This is just, and you notice how the fact that it is that Sarfang and Nathanos aren't in this shot anymore. They're like out of frame is interesting, because they're just not part of this anymore. They start as part of it, the very opening bit here. Obviously they're there, right? There they are. And then they're gone. Like these little things that I pick up on are just, they have to be conscious decisions. One of the boats over here is suddenly gone though too. That could be just artist rendition things. But you're with your subordinate to this one and you're gone. I think, again, to finish the point, I think they're trying to make Sylvanas not a Garrosh character. They're trying to make her like this tragically wounded, but Jaina's tragically wounded story is so much better than Sylvanas's, because Sylvanas was just like, she's just angry and mad. And that could be enough conviction for this, but I think that the tail end, and you can quote me on this one now and we'll see in a year and a half from now if I'm right, is that Sylvanas, I think they're going to do a redemption arc for her specifically, in either a Anduin saves her kind of a deal, or that she does something so selfless finally that, you know, with either a Jara or an Old God Void Lord kind of a lead up, is that she saves when she's been so hell-bent on destroying so far, right? Like she forsakes something, forsaken, blah, blah, blah. Which hopefully it's a good enough payoff. But if they keep her on this like warpath route, then she's honestly, in a weird way, I think she's a weaker character than Garrosh. Because at least with Garrosh, as a Horde player, I'm saying as a Horde player, I don't play Horde, I play Alliance, but I've obviously seen both sides, at least I've sponged it up. Garrosh had the true Horde. He was seeking power. He was obviously an egotistical, warmongering maniac, but at least he had like his vision of what he saw, what he didn't like in Thrall, all this kind of stuff, right? And as a Horde player, you can get behind, yeah, what are freaking, you know, undead walking corpses and peaceful Tauren cows and these frou-frou blood elves doing it, my Horde, I'm an orc, wow, the true Horde, blah, blah, blah. You can get behind that as a player. You can have like one or the other. As a Horde player now, you're just forced to be like, well, our appointed war chief via Vol'jin is just, you know, she's crazy and she's burning stuff. You have no agency to have a yes or no side of this because there's just, it's very polarizing in a way that you just have to accept this. Like even just doing the week 1 questing on my Horde character, on my warrior, I didn't have any connection at all because I feel like I was just fighting her vendetta. I wasn't fighting with either or at least understanding the true Horde, but having to follow the coup or the rebellion. There's nothing you can do. You just accept the fact that Sylvanas and Sylvanas alone wants to end Malfurion's life, kill Hope, burn the World Tree, just because she's angry. But again, we defeated the Legion. The reason why all of what she is gone. Arthas is dead. Bolvar is obviously not Arthas. We'll probably have a Bolvar arc at some point in time because what he did in the DK campaign during Legion is crazy. But there's just something missing. There's just something missing. And what I was hoping for was not like old god corruption, right? I was hoping that this was going to be, and that's why we're drumming out the whole morally gray bit, is that we all have been talking about this for a while, about all the world trees on the planet have slowly been corrupted by the old gods. And there even is old god corruption in Teldrassil. Like when you quest there, I was told like the purple trees are like corrupted or fall into corruption because it's all the old god goo in the planet and the apparent corruption of Azeroth, the actual world soul herself. Now that she's been stabbed, there's Legion corruption down there now too, and she's literally bleeding. But then, of course, all the old god stuff. I was hoping that the arc, we'd have some reveal that what Sylvanas was doing was to destroy this tree because she knows something. Her vision in the Azerite that she touched was that her narrative was that she had to cut off these links, that these power points that the old gods, the void lords, whatever, are slowly seeping into our world. And then she knew Malfurion wouldn't listen, and that she knew the Alliance wouldn't trust her to, like, you know, them to do it themselves. Like, hey, you know, Anduin, can you burn down the world tree? No, you killed my dad. So that she took it into herself to be this morally gray avenue to burn down Teldrassil because she knew something was brewing there that was worth killing. She's still an elf, right? Even though she's, you know, a walking corpse at this point. If she had this conflicted backstory between her elven heritage and her forsaken undead life as a war chief now, and there was some back and forth. Should she do it? Should she not do it? She tried to be diplomatic, but then the Alliance didn't believe her because what the Alliance believes from Legion and the whole, like, them leaving the battle and then sacrificing, you know, Varian for this kind of, that would have been a morally gray story. That would have had scope. As a Horde player, you would have been like, okay, what my war chief is doing is impactful. We have to do this even though it's wrong in a right now, present sort of way. but in the long run, it will matter more. And then, of course, burning the world tree and having this connection and this power removed would maybe feed into Azshara's bit, because she's obviously basically, you know, tied to N'Zoth at this point. She's just basically a servant to the old gods. The Naga are. They're constructs of an old god pet, right? Or of an old god. They're pets, basically. So I was hoping for that. But what we got is this beautiful, again, a lot of imagery in here. This scene also, like all these different scenes in here are gorgeous. The art team and everything like that, again, have done fantastic work. I mean, this reveal, it's beautiful, right? It's awesome. This cinematic is really good, but I was hoping for the real morally gray bit, and there's nothing morally gray about this except for the actual color tones on these tulips. And it frustrates me as a player, because I can get behind what Jaina is doing, listening to her father, understanding that even though he was, like, at the time a warrior, and I said before that, you know, that Daelin was kind of like a racist bigot, but again, at his time, he had to feel what he had to feel about this invading force, right? It was only against orcs, though. There's a whole bunch more there. There's a lot more stuff to unpack there, and I was hoping for more from the cinematic. We got some beautiful imagery, and we got a lot of great scenes. And I think what Blizzard is trying to do here is to force this narrative on us because of what's going to happen when the inevitable does. The BFA story to begin with is kind of weak. The Alliance stuff, we're just reacting. My king is just reacting to acts of war. And all we've tried to do, even with came up the other day on stream, is the Alliance is like willingly incorporated the Void and Void Elves into a very light focused faction because they're open to accepting what needs to be done for Azeroth, for the greater good here. And the Horde players hear all this. They hear the stuff that Khadgar talks about. They've heard what the speaker has talked about. They see what's happening. And Sylvanas' reaction to our planet and what she knows from the Legion is to burn down a world tree with no other main goal than just to do it because she's angry. I think they're trying to force this narrative on us because she's going to have some like self-sacrificing bit and you're going to be like, oh, Sylvanas, oh. Or she's going to get redeemed, you know, by Anduin, by the light, or by the void in some regard, even though it just feels like they're making her this very flat character now. And it makes me frustrated as just a Warcraft player because they had so much more potential to actually give you a morally gray story arc. But we know the inevitable is going to happen, if not in BFA proper, toward the end of BFA into the next expansion. Azshara is a boss. Her story is next. We'll talk about this, of course, in a week's time. We'll see what the old god influence is going to be. Because Azshara is just crazy. She's just a completely vain, egotistical lady. She wants power. Oh, look, demons. And then she's like, oh, demons screwed me. Oh, look, old god. Right? That's just Azshara in a nutshell. That's basically her arc. That's basically her arc. And she's and that kind of exterior villain can be very one single-minded. Our main characters, our Sylvanas and our Jaina, have to be complex because then we need to like feel for them or understand where they're coming from or try to relate. But Sylvanas is just being a bitch. And it just feels weak, and I'm sorry. Let me know what you think. Of course, join in. I've rambled for long enough, about 30 minutes or so. I've sort of blended the cinematic bits and pieces, and this sequence is awesome. Like the whole like they don't know what they want to do. I get it. I get it. I think though, point to the artists that actually have like the soot blood finger push right there to actually have that on this scene. That's where Sylvanas' finger like wiped that tear away versus the one over here. Little things like that, right? Little tiny little bits here. Again, I don't know why that ship disappeared. Whatever. There's little things here and good things to take away from this. I still just think that they've narratively, weakened Sylvanas' story. And I was hoping for something more. Let me know what you hope for down below. I will definitely do another one of these. I might do, because Azshara's story is the last one, and it's a pivotal point, possibly, because we get to figure out if it's like where the old god Void Lord Hook Naga is going to be. I might do I'll do the same style as this one. If you enjoyed this one better, let me know down in the comments below. I'll do that one here, and I'll watch it firsthand. I won't watch it beforehand and then go through it in the video. I'll just watch it straightforward and not have the pre-existing knowledge, because I watched one before I actually started recording. But I feel for you, Horde players. I feel that you're getting cheapened in your story right now. Cheapened a little bit in some regard. I definitely feel that this is sort of an unfortunate tale being told with a character that could have been so much more than this. But I think, again, they're doing it on purpose to do that later on. But I don't think that makes it a better character. I think it just... Anyway, thank you all for watching. Check out my links down below if you want to watch the previous Jaina reaction video. Again, that was recorded live on stream, so there's a bit of chat interaction back and forth. This one, of course, just me rambling. Check those out. Check out the live stream if you want to be a part of when I actually go through the actual live quests, the actual live quests, and get my reactions there, and we can talk about it, of course, then. Check out Nobble's stuff. I'm sure he's got a lot to say in a different way than I'm going to say it. So go over to his channel, and I'm sure he'll make a video about it. He was streaming right before I recorded this. But again, thank you all very much for listening and being here on this journey, and I will see you all in the next Warbringers. We have the last one, and then the expansion's here, and then I'll stream basically 18 hours a day for like a week. Not really. I don't know. Maybe we'll see.